Hey everybody, it is Monday, May 11th, and we are here for another episode of Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia. I'm Cecilia Sepp. I'm the principal and founder of Rogue Tulips, a consulting consortium built in the virtual world, and we offer consulting services and association management services, along with distinctive projects to our clients. My co-host, Agnes Amos-Coleman, can't be with us today, but on behalf of Agnes, I would like to say hello to our global community. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Today, we are really excited because we have three guests that are all candidates for the CAE this year, and they are all candidates for the May exam period, which actually has been moved to June and July at this point, but that's okay. All three of these people are great. They're in one of the study groups that I mentor, and I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves. We'll start with Eileen, and say hello to our audience.
Hello, my name is Eileen Arnold-Ley, and I am the Executive Office and Special Projects Specialist for the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners, also known as NAPNAP.
NAPNAP. I love that name, by the way. That's great. Thanks. Welcome, Eileen. Divya.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Divya Parikh, and I'm the Vice President of Research and Education for the MPL Association.
And what is MPL?
Medical Professional Liability Insurers. So we were formerly the Physician Insurers Association of America, PIAA, but we rebranded a couple of years ago.
Ah, PIAA. Okay. Welcome. Terry.
Hi, I'm Terry Dowdy. I'm the Director of Information Technology and Web Services at the Tax Executives Institute in Washington, D.C.
Great. Well, welcome, Terry, and thank you all for being here today. So as we mentioned at the top of the episode, we're here today to talk about the CAE journey and why these three professionals decided to take this exam and study for it. So Terry, we'll start with you. What motivated you the most to study for the CAE exam?
I've been working in the association world for almost 20 years now, and this has been something that's been one of my personal and professional goals for at least the last 10 years. Unfortunately, I never either have the time or the resources or anything else to study for it and sit for it, because it is a difficult exam and it does require a lot of studying. But I believe my experience has also helped.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Okay, great. So Divya, what motivated you to study this year?
Yeah, actually, I actually have been with an association for 13 years, and it's been the same association. It's a trade association. Previous to that, I was with the federal government for about a decade. And so just in recent years, you kind of come to this cross-section in your career where you think, I really enjoy working for an association, and I think this is where I want to stay. And so it just drove me to some of my own professional development. We provide a lot of professional development for physicians in our organization, but I hadn't really explored it for myself, and that brought me to ASAE and to explore the CAE a little bit more closely. And within our organization, we actually don't have anyone who has their CAE, and I found it invaluable to fill in a lot of the gaps where I just didn't know what I needed to know completely. So I really enjoyed the coursework I've done, and that led me down the path of let's explore the CAE a little further, and this is probably where I want to stay, is in the association world.
Oh wow, what a great reason. Eileen.
I think for me, in my job, I work very closely with the executive director and the executive board in the world of governance and strategic planning and overall management of the association. So I thought it was going to be really helpful for me in terms of doing my job to the best of my ability if I understood, how a chief staff executive thinks and have that leadership mindset in order to help support the work that the association is doing.
So those are all really good insights into why you might, sorry, my dog is trying to guest again. So he keeps jumping on me. So do any of you have aspirations to become a chief staff executive?
Well, I'll say
No,
this.
no.
It's, in our organization, the senior leadership is very much a part of a lot of the decision making. And we have a wonderful CSE who involves us in a number of different ways, to come outside of our own departments. And when you're with an organization, with an association long enough, you really want to make sure that you're considering all of the things that even help support that CSE. And down the road, I wouldn't rule that out for my own career path. That's what brought me to your first question, is if this is where I'd like to be for the next 10 to 15 years, and that is a potential track for me, then having that CAE is a big part of what I think is important to establish that foundation.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. That's why a lot of people go for the CAE, because they do have those executive leadership aspirations. So Eileen, do you have that aspiration as well?
I mean, I definitely want to have a leadership role in some course at some point in my career. At this point in my career, I don't feel like I'm in a position where I want to be a CSE, but I could see myself down the line being more of a part of a senior management team for an association. Once I, had the CAE credential, I've got 7 years of association experience at this point, so I'd like to get the CAE credential, then maybe a few more years of experience, and then move into more of a leadership role is where I'm thinking right now.
So, and that sounds like a great career track plan too. And it does help you plan out your career by taking this exam. So what advice might you have for somebody considering the CAE? Eileen, let's start with you.
Sure. I would say probably for me, my advice would be to make sure you're planning ahead for getting the credits that you need in order to qualify for the application. That was something that was, I remember, and keeping track of it as you go along. I remember trying to scramble to try to look up this course I took 4 years ago so I could fill in the information. And it was, so it was, that part was tricky and a lot of work just to get the application together. So I think definitely that would be a first big piece of advice, is to make sure you're prepared to get the application ready and in, so that you get your application accepted the first time you submit it.
That's great advice. Divya, what advice might you share?
I have two things that I was thinking when you asked that question. One was, if you're even thinking about it, if you're considering it, take some of the coursework that would be part of any of the domains and just explore it with ASAE. Because I didn't start taking these courses with the intention necessarily of sitting for the CAE exam. So I would encourage that, because you meet really great people, and it's a great way to, like I said, backfill some of the gaps you might have in what you're trying to do with your own association. The other thing I would strongly recommend that I simply just didn't know is, when I took the ASAE kickoff course, I thought, this is it. Now I'm going to be prepared for the exam in a month. You need about 6 months of time, depending on what you do in work, to just read the quantity of information. And so those of us who are taking the exam during COVID-19, we've practically shut down for about a month from our regular studying. Many of us, it's just derailed us a bit, but it hasn't discouraged us, with these study groups and things that keep you encouraged and focused. So I think you need to anticipate that there's a large quantity of information you'll need to study, and to make sure that you have that allotted time so that you don't feel that stress and pressure leading up to the exam.
Yeah, oh, that's really good advice too. I agree with that. Terry, what's your advice?
Yes, I'll add on to what Divya just said. Start preparing early. But even if you're not looking at taking the CAE, it doesn't hurt to participate in webinars that go on all the time in the association world. Many of them are free, and they all offer CAE credits. And you have 5 years to accumulate credits for the CAE. So you don't have to worry about thinking you're going to take it now. Do the webinars, keep track of what you've taken, and you'll be surprised how that all adds up. I'd also like to say that while the books, the reference material, can be expensive, it doesn't hurt to read it, especially the PPAM, Professional Practices and Association Management. invaluable. And you learn a lot about associations in that. Even, again, if you're not taking the CAE, that's not your goal, you would still learn about associations. That and the how to read financial statements, I've found to be almost invaluable. And of course, now I'm sitting for a study guide. And now I'm sitting for the CAE. But again, you don't have to make that decision right now, as Divya said. And as Eileen mentioned, you can still you can be preparing for it, even though you're not preparing for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and I think that's great. That's really good advice and input, because we should always all be learning anyway. We should all be doing professional development anyway. So I earned my CAE in 2015, and building what you've all said about set aside the time to study, I took a course, and it was a 4-month intensive course from the Michigan Society of Association Executives. And I needed all 4 of those months to get ready for the exam and to set aside the time to read. And I also, for my application, I had 200 hours when I did my application. And so I was joking with people, we need a CAE bank that we can donate CAE credits to people who are short, because I need a lot of people. So like, oh, I was like 5 credit shorts. I couldn't do the application yet. So yeah, but the ongoing education and professional development is really what I'd like to emphasize in this episode, because that is really what sets us apart as professionals, whether or not we have any letters after our name. Because I just got this 5 years ago. I've been in association management since 1988. So one of the things I like to say to people is it took all that information and experience I've gathered all these years and organized it in my head. So it's really, so we have about 5 minutes left. So let's start with Eileen. Have you found anything out about yourself doing this process of preparation to take the exam? Have you learned anything new about yourself, had any insights?
And I think for me, one thing I've learned is that I knew more than I realized, because, in working from my own experience, and obviously I know we're not supposed to just rely on our own experience, we have to learn how the proper way to do everything is. But I think I found that I just had a lot of experience in diverse areas that I didn't even realize that I had. So it helped me, pick up things faster in the reading that I've been doing, in order to go, oh, wait, I do know, have familiarity with that from this experience, or blah, blah, vice versa. So I feel like I, was able to catch on to the reading a little bit faster.
Oh, that's great. So building connections between knowledge and experience. Great. Divya, have you learned anything about yourself?
Well, it connects some of the things that both Eileen and Terry have highlighted, is kind of just in a self-exploration of wanting to learn more to better assist my association. It became, just like Eileen just articulated, I was impressed by how much I have learned along the way, unbeknownst to me. And ASAE has become a true resource, especially during this time where we're all dealing with the unknown. I think I've been on the ASAE collaborative site much more in the past month than I ever have before. And that just further validates that this is something that I feel is achievable. And that is something I discovered because it was an unknown to me. And through the process, I realized this is achievable. This is something not only that I have some grounding in just from my own experience within my own association, but I would look forward to. So I'm enjoying the process.
Oh, that's great. I enjoyed it too. I actually like to study. So it was great. So Terry, what have you learned about yourself in this process?
Well, one thing is that I need to get out of my comfort zone more. Working in IT, we tend to get a little bit isolated to just the IT stuff and the IT side of the association, and not seeing the other pieces of that puzzle that come together. And it's also helped me to think higher, think from doing the helicopter view, thinking about the big picture more than just the little smaller parts that I'm involved in.
So it's helped expand your view of the organization.
Absolutely. And I've learned so much just studying for the exam.
That's great. And that's a great endorsement again, I think, for taking this exam. I think it gives you an accomplishment as well. And even if you're a person who didn't pass the exam on your first try, you've still gone through a great development experience. And I do know more people than you think have to take it more than once.
Don't jinx us.
So
Yeah.
you're not jinxed because I passed the first time. So there, enough said. So we have just like a minute and a half left. So as we all know, there are 9 domains of practice that the CAE covers. So what is your favorite domain and why? Anybody?
I'll tell you what my least favorite is.
Okay, well, let's hear that. It's a talk show format. What is your least?
And that's the, I forget the exact number, the one that covers law. That
Okay.
was probably my least favorite. Only because there's a lot of specifics in there that I wasn't used to. And it was hard to get my head around them. Other than that, I think they're all my favorites. I mean, there's not an IT domain. I'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll have an offline conversation with Dante Shannon, I think. So let's jump over to Eileen. Eileen, what's your favorite domain, or least favorite, if you?
I think my favorite's probably, I mean, I would like governance because, I feel like that's where I'm more comfortable in. And I like also, I feel like just the overall view of the association and, I mean, I enjoy the strategic planning and trying to figure out like future directions. That is really interesting to me. I think one of my more challenging domains, I think definitely all the HR laws, and remembering all those details is challenging. And then also finance, it's definitely never been one of my strengths. And, I have an understanding of it, but it's not where my positive strengths lie.
Sorry, our timer actually just went off for 15 minutes. No, but we have another. Divya, let's close out with your comment. Thank you, Eileen. That was great insight, by the way. Sorry you got interrupted by the timer.
That's okay.
That's great. So Divya, let's hear yours.
I echo their comments and then just add, I like all the strategic leadership information. That's really where you get to test a lot of that, almost immediately back in your own organization. And so and I think that's really a powerful domain for the CAE and gave it a little bit more value in my mind. I think you can get certifications for some of the areas that I don't feel as strong in, legal or financial, but that's really what set it aside in my own mind, and I'm enjoying that part.
Excellent. Well, we have to go rogue, as you heard the timer went off, so we're going to go rogue for now. I want to thank our guests again, Eileen, Divya, and Terry, who are all going to be outstanding executives in the future. I know this. I'm so pleased to be helping them with their studies as they prepare to join the ranks of fellow CAEs. So we're looking forward to welcoming you all. And Agnes, we're hoping we'll be back on our next episode from her travels. And on behalf of Agnes and myself and Rogue Tulips, thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next week with another episode. If you want to learn more about Rogue Tulips, you can check us out at roguetulips.com. We also support the 501c League, which you can check out at 501cleague.net, which is a virtual membership organization for everyone in the 501c community and the people who love them. So the 501c League also offers an ethics course that provides you that CAE credit if you need it. So until next time, we're out for now. And just remember what Agnes and I say, take 15 minutes and talk to someone because you might learn something. So thanks again, guys. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.